Hi and welcome to this video that's about effective assignment planning. So the purpose of the video is to really help you approach your assignments in the most effective ways possible, to help save you time and to really help you feel more confident and competent in approaching your assignments, which will ultimately have a knock-on effect with your overall marks as well. Okay, let's go. So when you start planning, first of all, you've got to think about where on earth am I going to start? So reviewing your class notes is a great way to start. Have a look through, check if there's any missing information, see if you've missed any sessions, make notes of key concepts that were discussed and read those in conjunction with the recommended literature. But at this stage, rather than detailed reading, really start to just skim read the literature that's been recommended. So that might be on your module guides, it might be literature that you've been discussing in class, and just start to, again, just take note of key concepts that are being discussed before putting those ideas on paper. Check your class notes around assignment planning. So usually at the end of a module, you'll start to talk about the assignment itself, and you may be given examples of previous work, or you might be given a checklist of key things to cover, or you really might not be given very much information at all. But generally, there will be something that you within class where there will be a discussion around the actual assignment. So have a look at those ideas as well, and use your support network. Talk to your peers, talk to your lecturers to discuss your ideas, discuss their ideas, and really think about whether or not your initial ideas are kind of on track. So use your support network, talk to your peers, talk to your lecturers, take the opportunity to discuss your ideas before putting a formal plan into place. And next, we're really looking at planning with confidence, and the greater the plan, ultimately, the better the assignment's going to be. And not only is the assignment going to be better, but you're going to also feel more confident in approaching the assignment as well. So we've got some ideas of how you can do this. So this is very much a personal choice. But we encourage you to really start listing your topics as headings. So that pre-reading, going through your notes that you did with that you took in class, then start to either make bullet points, make outline notes, use PowerPoint and use a point per slide if you wanted to, use sticky notes, use paper, pens, highlighters, use mind maps, whatever will work for just taking note of the core concepts that you want to cover in your assignment. Now at this point there is no order required. This is just your opportunity to really think about, what have I learned in class? What have I taken away from the core reading? And what of these am I going to include within my assignment? And I'm going to show you how this can be done using a mind map in a moment. So here's an example where I've used a mind mapping technique to plan out my assignment. And what you can see is I started off in this middle area here, just grounded theory, that's what the assignment's about. And I've got, in no particular order, sort of offshoots of things that I want to discuss. So for example, effectiveness of it, elements, benefits, conclusion, limitations, disadvantages, main theorists, debates, what is it, and introduction. And as you can see, there's no particular order of any of this. So it really is that kind of initial brainstorm. Let's think of all the different perspectives that I've learned in class or I've learned from my reading, and see what I need to cover. And then I'll start to prioritise those in the next stage. But what I've then done is, with those initial core sort of words, you can use phrases, it's entirely up to you, then I've kind of looked at those in more detail. So for example, on elements, or what could be called features to be fair, I've started to break that down even further into paradigms, sampling, methods, coding, and data analysis, for example. So that just now starts to make me think about, well, what are the other areas that I need to be thinking about in each of these? So, really, what you want to do is exhaust your sort of everything that you've got in your mind from your initial background reading. And this will then set the scene for you to then start prioritizing and the order that you wish to put these in. So then I'm going to show you what that will look like in a moment. Now, within your planning, then we also encourage you to add your critical thinking questions. So really start to think about what you're going to do with that content. So you may find that there's a particular area that you're going to be covering. So for example, I'm going to use an example of grounded theory. So I might want to talk about, well, what is grounded theory? But then I'm going to start adding my critical thinking questions. So I might start thinking about how's it come about? How's it evolved? Who is it for? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages, for example? So I start to really start applying some of the critical thinking questions, so those are analytical, evaluative questions, to my writing. And if you need a reminder, then make sure that you study that section in the course and in a critical thinking course. Then once you've got your ideas, then it's time to start organising them and putting them in some kind of logical order. What I'm going to show you is my mind map that we've explored earlier, and I've transferred that into OneNote, and I'm going to show you how I've organised that to enable me to start writing. So what I've done now is I've taken that mind map that I just organised and really started to look at the order that I would like to write the assignment in. Now, it's really difficult to do that on a handwritten mind map. I could put numbers against words if I wanted to, so the different sections I could number those, or if I use an electronic version, obviously I could move things about. But I feel now I'm really ready to just type up my plan. So I'm using OneNote to do that. You can use Word, whatever you would like. So here now I've got my assignment plan for grounded theory, and I start to put it in what I feel is a logical order. But what's great about an assignment plan is that you can move it about, it really doesn't matter, and you can write in any order that you want. And then really during the editing and proofreading phase that you start to structure your work, and you'll move things about, and that will inevitably happen. And then when you speak to your lecturer for your academic tutorials, then you might be given advice on how to restructure or move things about. And likewise, as you read more, it's inevitable that you will add more or change things about or take things out. So it's important to remain flexible. So what you can see here is I've now put this in order. I've got some of my key questions here, or key points that I want to cover off, which were on, most of them were on the mind map. I might have added a couple more. But what you can see now is I've just put on this side here where I've got remember. I need to make sure these are just core things that I need to remember to include. So what evidence is there? So if I talk about, well, what is grounded theory? How did it come about? I need to make sure that I've got evidence there. And for those of you that are looking for those higher marks or working at higher levels, then you may be using multiple references, for example. It's important that I continue to engage in discussion or argument and ensure that I provide different perspectives. So I might start to think about the who supports what I'm trying to say. Is there any sort of caveats or different perspectives to consider? And is there any challenges to what's been said? So, for example, it could be similarities and differences. And again, as I'm writing, I want to start make sure that I'm ticking off here, have I included influencing factors? So where I've got that question, how it came about. So how did grounded theory come about from over here? I might be thinking, well, what's influenced that? Why? And again, I might add in terms of how that's changed or how that's evolved. Then again, I'll be including the influencing factors, and that really starting to demonstrate that I'm analysing there as well. I want to make sure that I try to include examples where it's relevant to demonstrate my knowledge. So it might be in relation to professional practice, for example. It will really depend on the context that you're writing about. And my little hint to make sure that I critique where relevant, the different perspectives that are provided. Critiquing really sort of comes in late level 5 into level 6. And through to level 7, but really it will depend on your own journey, what level you're working at personally. And I've added mini conclusions. So as I'm writing my paragraphs, I really want to sort of think about, well, what have I learned from what I've just presented in terms of the writing. And as you can see, that's kind of my plan. I'm quite happy with that. It's something to work towards. I'm going to remain flexible with that. And kind of tick it through, or I can cross through. I can use a color-coded system. So for example, I might use the highlighter pen and highlight green to say that, yep, okay, that bit's done. And I might put yellow for it's almost done. So it gives me a visual representation of how far I've come with my assignment as I start writing it. So once I've got my plan, it's in some sort of logical order, I'm open to being flexible, it's really time to get going, start writing. So as I start writing, then I need to make sure that I refer to that assignment plan. I can compare my class notes with the reading, start to really refine my reading, so actually start to read in more detail. And as I do that, I will start to find additional new ideas, new concepts to consider that may never have originally been on my plan. So I start to update and refine that plan. I might find that as I'm reading that I'll find additional sources of reference within the text. So I'll start to use those. I need to make sure that as I start writing, then I start building that argument as well. And then, as I've mentioned, it's really important to keep referring back to your plan, but also keep refining that plan as you go along. So now it's really over to you. You've had the opportunity to look at the most appropriate ways to help plan an assignment, to really think about what the best options are for you. Remember that you're on your own journey, believe in yourself, and just remember the importance of actually taking time to plan that. All that planning in advance will help you feel more confident in approaching your assignment, and you'll also be more competent at it as well. So I wish you all the very best, and thank you for listening.